Hello and welcome to a poker video. I've never really done any of these before, but I think I'll do some because yesterday night I played a $110 buy-in poker tournament. Now some of you may be like, "What? That's a crazy amount of money." And yeah, it's quite a lot. It's like 75 British pounds, 110 US dollars to buy into this tournament. First place pays like 8.5 grand or something like that. It wasn't a bad tournament. There was like 300 people in it, I think, or so. So $30,000 prize pool. And yeah, I was playing a tournament, so I just thought I'd explain what a tournament is, how the hell it works. So a lot of you probably won't understand poker. You're probably too young to even play poker. Basically, I bought into this tournament, and you start with a certain amount of chips. So you start with 3,000 chips, and as you can see in the top left, there's blind levels. So these blind levels go up, and you can see blind levels going up in 18 minutes. So this is quite. The reason I bought into such a big tournament is because the blind levels are much better, and you can play proper poker and stuff, and it's just so much better to do it like this. So 10, 20 blinds to start. So we've got a shitload of blinds, like 200 or so. To get no, actually more than that, it's 250 blinds, and obviously I straight away start with a pretty decent hand, pocket nines. So I'm going to explain how I play these hands and stuff, and see how you go. So I'm obviously going to raise here because this is a strong hand. I'm in position. I could be playing any two cards in position pretty much. I'm going to raise this guy's raise, okay? And we come with is E flat calls here. So I'm thinking, hey, he could have some kind of king jack, king queen, something like that kind of hand. And that flop is kind of terrifying to me because he could have easily hit it, but I decide that, if he bets, I'm probably going to flat call, and I think I do. Because it depends what he does on the turn. If he bets big again on the turn, then I'm going to fold straight away. But a lot of the time, he might have missed an ace or a queen. He might not have an ace or a queen. And if he checks back this turn, I'm always going to bet and probably make him fold. The poker is about playing the other person's hand, not playing your hand. What is playing is whether your hand can beat their hand. And if you think your hand can beat their hand, you'll go to showdown. If you don't think you can beat their hand, you try and get them to fold their hand. And there's also getting value from hands and stuff. Now, he bets quite big here, like half pot again. I'm just going to assume that he's probably got an ace. He's probably got some kind of medium ace, like ace 10. And he's never going to fold no matter what I do. So I just get out of the way. So yeah, there's a lot of different hands you can play in poker. Position is very important. So you can see the little D button, right? The dealer button. On the Paladin to my right. Now, that's important. Because that is position. So you see you've got these chips and the people have already put in the 10 and 20. Every round, these are the blinds, okay? Every round, these you have to pay them. So it keeps moving around the player each hand. And this becomes really important later on in tournaments when the blinds get bigger and bigger and bigger. They start really eating away at your chip stack. You have to always put these chips in. And you also get antes and stuff later on as well, which is you have to put in every single hand. So I was going to play Jack 10, but it got raised to 170, which is he's suggesting I've got a big hand here. I've re-raised this raise quite a lot. I've got a big hand. That's basically what he's saying by raising that. So you can kind of tell what kind of hands people have and narrow it down and such. And I'm pretty much in this video going to show you the hands I've played and try and explain how I played them. So this is quite an interesting hand I played. I didn't necessarily have to play like this. I could have just folded straight away, but I decided, I'm going to raise Queen 8. Why not? Sometimes you got to raise, and try and take pots away from people and try and outplay people. Otherwise, if you just have to wait for kings or aces every time, you're never going to win a tournament. You've got to take pots away from people when you have the worst hand. So I figured Queen 8 is terrible, but I'm going to play it differently. So I'm kind of raising to represent some kind of hand. This guy from the small blind calls, okay? So I'm assuming, well, he could have anything, really. Small blind, I mean. But I bet the flop, I think. Or do I? Yeah, I bet the flop. Normally he'd just fold. If you missed this, he's fold. It's out of position, the power position. So I'm thinking, he called. So from the small blind, he could have a small ace of some kind. Now, that 10 is a great card to bet. I'm saying right now, I've got a 10, or I've got a strong ace, fold. Okay? Now, I'm putting him on like an ace 5 up to ace 7 kind of hand, somewhere in between there. And it's kind of hard to call. I mean, you can call, but it's kind of hard to call this bet because I'm basically saying I've got trips or a strong ace, and his ace is just dead in the water. So he thinks about it, and I think I pretty much got the pot here, but he does end up calling, okay? Now I'm thinking, River, well, if I do it one more time, although the ace 5 could have hit him and made 2 pair, but then his 2 pair is still not going to beat trips. So I'm thinking if I put in one more big bet here, especially if he checks, then he might just fold. I think most of the time this would have worked. So he does check to me. Okay, and I've got absolutely nothing here. I'm playing my cards. I'm pretending like I've got ace 10, or like a 10 here, or a big ace. So like I bet 300. Okay, and obviously he's called me on the turn, so he thinks he's probably going to call me on the river. And I didn't put him on as strong a hand as he had, and he actually had ace queen. Okay, so he was always going to call with ace queen. I mean, he couldn't really fold that. If it was a weaker ace though, he would have probably folded, I'd imagine. So you know, sometimes you just got to make those plays to win tournaments. I would have gained so many chips from that pot. But obviously it's a deep stack tournament, so I've still got ages left to play. Being down 800 chips really isn't that bad, and you know, a lot of people, like when they buy into big buy-in tournaments, they don't want to risk any chips. They're like, oh no, it's so much money. But if you play like that, then you're never going to win one. So you've just got to play hands as they come. So here's a really dry board, you know, 3-3 queen. I'm always betting this. There's so little chance that you hit this. You only ever hit a flop 1 in 3 times, okay? So every 3, and he's called. But now I've got 5-4, so I'm like, do I bet again, or do I check? And I think I check back. But then I actually river a pair, so I'm like, oh, hang on, I might actually have something here. So he called my on the flop, okay, and it turns out it was floating. So floating means, and ace king's a perfectly fine hand to float with, means he doesn't think I've got anything either, which was the right call to make, and he was trying to pick up like an ace or a king. So I probably should have actually carried on betting the turn. He would have just folded in and I wouldn't have had to make a pair. But I was kind of worried. But yeah, I shouldn't have been. So here, I can't remember what the hell I did in this hand. Got king 4 from the big blind. I got a discount price to play, and I think I'll just check it down from what I remember. And I've just completely missed. But on the river, I'm like, check, 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 check. I'm gonna take this, and I bet quite big, basically the pot. And they're just like, nope, and they all fold. I think they fold. Does Nom Nom Cookie fold? No, he doesn't. Because he had a small underpaid, and that was a pretty good call by him. I mean, but then again, if I'd bet on the turn, he would have folded. So betting on the river kind of made it look more suspicious. And it was probably the bet was too big. If I'd bet smaller, he might have folded. But that made it look like a bluff, which it was. Now here's a hand where I lost quite a few chips. Ace King, okay? From the small blind, I raised the big blind. And he calls. Oh no, re-raises me. And I'm like, huh. Well, I'm gonna re-raise you again, son of a bitch. And he does seem to, he calls this raise. Now I'm thinking, Jesus, what the fuck does he have? I'm thinking, but then I hit my top, okay, so I've got ace king. I'm like, this is great. Well, I mean, unless he's got pocket queens, and pocket, I'd put him on something like pocket jacks, because, that would be the sort of thing you'd call and try and see a flop with, although that's a terrifying flop for jacks. And he goes all in, he turns out he's flopped the fucking straight. I mean, re-raising me with king jack, and then calling my re-raise is just terrible play. I could never put him on king jack. And it's kind of unfortunate that I lost that pot. I mean, king jack was pretty much the only hand that beat me out other than pocket queens. So I was just kind of a bit annoyed at that. But obviously it's a deep stack tournament, so I've still got chips to play with. And play with them I do. So here I'm like, well, what do I do here? I'm just going to flat call. Now this is actually terrible. I shouldn't have even played this pot. But I did. And it worked out okay. I mean, 6-7 when you don't have many chips, it's kind of, you don't really want to be messing around with it. If you're going to be messing around with it, you want to be raising it heavily. So you only get called by bigger cards, so that you kind of know what you're up against. Just by calling here, anybody could have anything. So I'm just sort of, it's pretty terrible here. So 6-7, and this guy checks from the big blind. Might as well see a flop. Bang, and here we go. Absolutely missed everything. So I check. But now I've hit a 7, okay, so now I'm like, oh god, right, I've got a hand that could actually win now in this 3-handed pot. Maybe I'll just check back. I don't want to get the pot too big. I don't have a lot of chips. If anyone's got a queen or a jack, I'm screwed. And then another 7 comes along. Oh my god, bingo. So I try and bet a little bit, you know, just get a bit of value, and nobody bites. Which is unfortunate, whereas if I'd bet on the turn, I might have actually got some action, but unfortunately not. Although actually, if I bet this on the turn, they probably would have folded anyway. If they're not going to call a queen or a jack on the river, then they wouldn't have called it on the turn. So I don't think any of them had anything there. So yeah, that happens. So here I get a nice big hand, although it's kind of unfortunate I don't have any chips to actually, like, I could have played this slower than I did, but because obviously I didn't have any chips, because bloody that guy took him off the king jack. Bearing in mind he actually busted the very next hand against a set, so I was kind of happy. I was like, yeah, suck it. This time he got an ace, and he went all in against a set of 7s, so I was like, nice. So 10s is pretty good, but it's like being folded all the way around. It's like, oh god. But thankfully the big blind raises, And I have to just shove here because, and it's a big stack as well. So big stack could have anything. And he's also got a shitload of chips. It's only 1/10 of his chips to call my all in, but unfortunately he folds. So, but the thing is, if I had a bigger stack, I could have maybe just made a small raise there, and he probably would have called. And then I could have maybe raked some chips out of him. Whereas as a short stack, it's just sort of cost me there. Then I got kings, an even better hand. And now Tuisia folds, and Nom Nom Cake, I think also folds, although I can't remember. But he shouldn't fold because Nom Nom Cake on the button with just the blinds. He should always raise with whatever hand, pretty much, because there's so much value in raising. Because a lot of time you just take the chop down, but he does fold, so I'm going to min raise it to 100. And this guy in the big blind calls. I could have checked here because this is a really dry board, but I wanted to try and get as much value out of my king as possible. You know, I don't have any chips left. I just want to chip up. And he just folds, which is unfortunate. One time I didn't want them to fold, and they did. So that happens with an overpair. And yeah, stuff like that can happen. So now I've got Jack 10, and I'm kind of like, well, I don't have that many chips. I kind of just want to take these blinds down. I'm in late position. I'm going all in. I'm just going to put it all in. Jack 10's not a bad hand if someone calls me. It beats a lot of weak aces. And funnily enough, I get called by a weak ace. An ace 9, I think. Yeah. So I got the spades, and I hit a jack, so it's like, nice. I mean, generally, a lot of the time, I think I was like 60-40, so I had a 40% chance, something like that, which isn't that bad. But most of the time I would have taken on the blind, so I got lucky there, hit a jack, and increased my chip stack a nice amount. So sometimes you have to do plays like that and get a little bit lucky. Now, King Queen's a good hand as well. Raising it up to 150, and this pot was a good pot for me as well, I'm not going to lie. I get back up to... I hit quite strongly here. So D and B, I don't think he calls, but Strange Jelly calls. Boom! Look at that. What a flop. Top pair. I bet to try and get some value. He actually calls. Thank God. Then I'm like, oh my God, Bazinga. Although there's 3 clubs out there, it can be kind of scary. But you can't be scared of 2 pair. And unfortunately he folds. So maybe I should have checked, but then checking gives him a chance to get another club. And if another club comes out, then what the hell am I going to do with 4 clubs out there and I don't have a club? He could have any kind of flush. And it puts me in a really tough spot, which is just not worth doing a lot of times. It's best just to bet, and if they fold, then they fold. And you don't get your value. So yeah, raise with ace 10. I was thinking about not even playing it. Because, you know, ace 10, early position isn't great. But I just get everyone just folds. So, you know, sometimes you just got to raise. And raises from early position look really strong as well. Because, you know, you don't want to play a bad hand out of position because it's just terrible. So I hope you kind of be understanding what's going on here. Like, you basically have to just chip up and chip up and chip up. And then you get eliminated if you run out of chips, basically. And top positions get paid. So out of these 300 people, I think it was top 45 got paid. So 45th was like $100 and something. And... oh, hang on. Sorry, I had to let my cat out. 45th was $100 and something. No, $250, I think. So you get your money back from this. Now here I'm thinking, well, I've hit a pair, and I called the flop. But on the turn, he bets... oh, actually, no, I didn't call here, because his range, he could have easily had a king or a jack. And sometimes it's not worth just calling people down, because you're just going to blow chips away. But then I got King Queen suited. Man, this hand, diamonds always hit. I swear to God, they always hit. All my straight flushes have hit with diamonds. And the royal flushes I've made as well. I made a royal flush against a full house before, which was fun. Got all my... well, it wasn't worth much money, but still. So here I'm like, well, this is big stack. I don't really want to raise against him with King Queen. It's not even... it's just a drawing hand, really. But holy shit, look at that. I flopped the flush. I was like, oh my God, come on, value, please, someone bet. Please, someone bet. But nope. So now I'm like, oh, well, I've got to try and give it a bet, you know. Just maybe take it down, get some chips. And I get called, and I'm like, oh shit. Shit, son. What's going down? And then another diamond comes in. This is annoying because it makes it hard for me to bet. So I shouldn't have checked here. I should have probably bet to try and get some value. Because all I'm scared of is an ace of diamonds, or the 9 of diamonds because there's a straight flush out there, or the 4 of diamonds. But the odds of them having that card are quite low, and to lose to a straight flush, you can't really complain. But, you know, it happens sometimes. And I could have made more money out of that King Queen there quite easily, but I I had a sort of a bit of a nitty check on the river. Although I could also have said it was making him more likely to bluff at it, because if I checked, then it means like, well, maybe I'll bet to try and take this down, and then I can just get all my chips in, make a load more money. But it didn't happen like that. So here I've hit a pair of threes. Now it may look like a terrible hand, you know, all these undercards and stuff, but I'm like, well, they've been checked, so I might bet at it and try and get these guys to get off their hands. So that guy folds, and I just take it down like that, easy peasy. Sometimes you've just got to put, if people seem weak, bet. But you want to try and make your hand make sense. So, like, say, it's kind of hard to explain, but sometimes if you bet, it looks wrong. Sometimes if you have a strong hand, you would check to try and keep the pot under control, and also to try and get the other person to bet at you and maybe slow play it or something. So, by checking, you can sometimes make your hand look a lot stronger, especially if you, like, go check, call, re-raise. Then you're like, oh my god, they've got a monster, you know, because you would never do that with a hand where you've got nothing. Unless, of course, you're drawing and you've missed a draw and you just want to shove on the river to, you know, get the other person to fold, make it look like a monster hand. But sometimes it doesn't make sense. You've got to try and piece together the story people are telling about that hand and whether it makes sense. Okay, so here I've got ace-9, standard raise. I know I call the raise with ace-9. From position, this is the power of position right here. This guy checks, I bet, boom, pot's mine, simple as that. Bet half pot, he's completely missed, that's a dry as hell board. No suited cards or anything on it, and bang, folded, mine, taken, easy as peasy. Didn't have anything, doesn't matter. You don't have to hit hands to win at poker, that's the whole point. You have to be able to not be afraid to bet when you've got nothing, otherwise you're just going to lose anyway. If you wait till you've got something every time, you're just going to lose. So I've got fours, not a bad hand in late position, and I'm just waiting for the blinds to come round. Okay, so now I'm kind of getting, well, I've got 25 big blinds, but it's not great. So I'm like, oh, well, I'll call with fours. If I hit a set, then a set, by the way, is when you've got a pair in your hand and then another card of that kind. So you've got 3 of a kind, but 2 of the cards in your hands. It's really hard to detect. Okay, so it's actually a good flop for fours. A really good flop for fours. And this guy bets, and I'm like, well, you ain't got none of that, so I call. With my pair, you know, he could have some diamond draws or something, but then that guy calls as well. And I'm like, oh god, that extra diamonds, what the hell's going on here? But I'm like, I'm confused. Another check. Do I bet here? And I end up just checking. I'm like, well, my fours could be good, so why would I bet? There's 3 diamonds out there. There's no point wasting my chips away. And I check again. Okay, so now I've still got a pair of fours. This guy's gonna check. And I'm like, oh, do I bet here? Do I bet here? But I'm like, no, if my fours still could be good, right? So I check back, and it turns out they weren't good because someone had 9s. But I think if I'd actually bet like that, I could have quite happily taken the pot down. But for some reason, I was playing my hand too much rather than the other person's hand. Now, this is the last hand I play. I'm really short now. I've only got like 15, less than 15 big blinds. No, about 11 big blinds. So you just got to go all in and try and double up. 2s, if I get called by any kind of ace suited hand, then, you know, I've got, it's a 50-50 basically to win. So I'm like, okay, well, screw it, 50-50. I might as well. If I double up, then I'm back to average stack and I can keep playing. So I get called by Dorigo, who calls my short stack shove. He's even shorter stack than me. NS 1972 gets out of the way. Eventually, ace jack, okay, fair enough, cool with that, and bang, a jack's in there. This just happens, 50-50 pretty much, and I lose. But it was fun playing, and you know, nothing really went my way that tournament. After I lost against the king jack, then it was just sort of all over anyway, because I couldn't really get any value out of my kings or 10s, and I did grind back up to 3k, and then it just sort of went wrong again. So the blinds just increased. You can see how now the blinds have an effect, because if the blinds had stayed at 10-20, I would have been fine. I wouldn't have had a problem. I wouldn't have had to shove with 2s. I could have just called or something, but I didn't really have enough blinds just to call with 2s, and I didn't want to fold 2s. It's best to shove. Sometimes everyone would just fold and take the blinds. So that's what you have to do. Taking the blinds is a really big thing when tournaments, the blinds and antes come really high. Like, it's really important. So I decided to shove with 9-8 here. Pretty good hand. You know, I could hit a lot of stuff against it. I mean, I've only got 2 big blinds now. And obviously I'm going to get called, so I'm just like, come on, hit a 9 or 8, that'd be nice. And I think the guy who originally took all my chips, again, takes the rest of them with a monster, because I think he raises here. Although I don't know if he does. He might just call. But yeah, it doesn't go well for me. So yeah, this was a tournament, $100 tournament. Please let me know if you want to see some more. I'm gonna play a $160 tournament on the 30th of November. It's $200,000 prize pool though. It's a way bigger tournament. Half an hour blind levels. I might be 20 minutes. I'm not sure, but it should be awesome to play. And you know, if I do run deep, then first place is a shitload of money. It's like $55,000 or something crazy like that. So I think it'd be pretty cool to watch. At some point, I've got to cash deep on one of these, because I know I'm a decent enough player. I'm not an amazing player, because I do make mistakes, but decent enough to, at least at some point, make a big cash. And then I can go to Vegas, baby, something like that. That's my aim. But yeah, I do enjoy playing poker. Let me know if you want to see some more of these, and if you find them interesting. Don't gamble if you're under 18 or 21, depending on where you live, because it's against the law. So just don't do it. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you later.